Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
All right. Hello, my friends. We are live. Welcome to the Right Now Writers Group meeting 65. Oh my goodness. Meeting 65 coming live to you. This is our weekly group where we meet every week on Wednesday, same time, same place, and we chat about the one thing that we love to hate and hate to love and love to do: writing, character development, and all that other fun jazz. So come join us. Whether you have a question, you're working on something, we would love to hear you. Drop a comment. I'm Kaufman, you know me, daily writing streamer, fantasy author, and dragon nerd, and everything else. That is me. I'm joined by my fellow co-host over here. I'll let you intro yourself, Soul.
So everyone knows me as Chat Soul, the person who writes a lot. Although I will admit, as much as I've done my minimum, I've actually not been writing really much more than that this week.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And by the way, for everyone, I might be a little different because I'm on my phone. My house internet went out today, so I'm messing around with technical difficulties. But writing wise, I realized something really interesting, Soul. And this wasn't planned for at all, but the part of the book that I'm working on with The Last Scarecrow is going into the creepiest part of the book, and it happens to coincide with the creepy part of the year.
Gotta love coincidences.
I didn't realize that till I was planning for the next chapter, and I'm like, this is technically the darkest and creepiest part of the book that I'm going into. We deal they're about to they're going to be going through some very dark areas. But one of the characters that they're going to soon be encountering is these characters called the Hags, and they're kind of like witch-ish like characters. I'm asking myself about how I want to further define how they look, and I haven't decided yet. But I'm like, wow, it's definitely spooky season.
Well, you'll certainly be surrounded by enough to help give you inspiration.
I know, right? And by the way, I see a bunch of you guys here in the chat. Megan, welcome. Crazy, always great to have you back, my friend. And ML, welcome. How's everyone doing, by the way? How's your storytelling going? We would love to hear from you. So how's your writing coming along?
Well, let's see, my personal projects, like I said, I've not been writing that much this week. Been coming along, been working on some Tumblr requests that I've gotten that I've kind of let piled up just a little bit. So, gonna try to work on one of those tonight because, for the most part, until I do a final edit, I have already completely finished and edited my entry for Freaky Friday.
Really? Dang, you are ahead of the game. But I'm not surprised though. Anybody Soul's gonna be the first one done. Soul's it's gonna become a novel before you know it. I've got 10 submissions. I'm gonna have to catch up. I'm kidding. One submission per person.
No, I wouldn't cheat like that anyway. I wouldn't want to do that to the other writers.
Dude, I'm so excited though. I'm so excited. Just kind of hearing what writers are thinking about for their stories and what people are doing in the community. I feel like we're gonna be able to get some really great ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I know I actually got some final feedback, and I kind of compared it to what I've been seeing on the Discord, and we're doing. I mean, we've got four different choices from the three individual ones, and then the one that's everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I can already tell it's going to be a little bit like Faded Fantasy, where it's going to be pretty broad. It's still going to be under those categories, but it sounds like it's going to be a little broad at the same time.
Yeah. I think what was interesting was our first Freaky Friday, we didn't have any real requirements other than genre. And then Faded Fantasy, it was either fantasy and then romance, of which we then, of course, corrected. And I felt like for this one, I wanted there to be options, but kind of options with a little bit more of a clear structure in the sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's people have four different options, four different types of stories they can embark on. But I'm curious. I have no clue what types of what genres people are going for. I don't know if everyone's going to try to do like, all right, let me try to combine all the genres, or if people are going to go like really, really hard at their individual genres.
See, I think so far it seems like there's a good amount. There's a few, at least a few people that are going for that are going for all three.
For the genre blend.
Hmm.
I think a lot of people actually really like, aside from like offering a prize for it, I think a lot of people really do like genre blending. I
It
think that's popular.
makes it easier, at least for myself. It makes it easier when you aren't constricted to just a single genre. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong, fantasy is a wide genre. A lot can go into fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
but that's almost too broad on its own. I mean, there's like a million different things you can write just in fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
But having a direction of fantasy adventure, fantasy romance, fantasy mystery, it really, really helps kind of decide where, like, what direction you're going to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And then, by the way, I saw Megan's chat. Megan said, brainstorming my Freaky Friday flash fiction piece. I revised a story idea and had tons of ideas and working on two characters, the protagonist and the devilish antagonist. Ooh, absolutely love that. I feel so much, I see so much creativity and ideas in the community. I think something that I'm really really curious when I think about the styles. I think about the genre asks. Um, I feel like people will probably have fun with creating creature types. I think writers probably just like trying to get twists in their stories or thrills. So I feel like that's not too out of the norm. Um, a dark magic system. I kind of ask myself how writers and how people are going to be taking a dark magic system.
Yeah, I
And like,
gotta admit, that is the only one I'm really struggling with personally.
mhm. And I think I did that very intentionally because I wanted to involve fantasy, but it's like I felt like the only way I could involve fantasy, since fantasy was kind of the theme with Faded Fantasy, was I had to flip it on its head. And dark magic is very much its own style, right? There's very specific themes and there's very specific styles of what's considered dark magic,
Hmm.
and the writer who wins it, or whatever writer is able to blend all three of those the best between the character, the twist, and then a dark magic system, will probably be the one to make it and win the prize, is what I will say. And I don't think dark magic necessarily means like you have to be the goriest. Some writers, some stories can get away with that, but it doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be the goriest. But I think thematically, it has to work. It has to apply a lot of these dark thematic principles along with like the things that it does.
Right.
I mean, when we think about Avatar: The Last Airbender, blood magic is used very effectively in the series, but it's not overused at all. And I want to say they use it with water. It's like water blood bending, I think, is the way that they go about it, and they're like, and that's definitely a dark magic. That's more like a dark magic offshoot, is what I would call it. Um, but I think ways
Yeah,
that
the
you.
blood bending and breath bending from airbenders. Yeah, those are they're dark offshoots of the specific bending property of the
Mhm,
specific bending elements.
exactly. So yeah, I always think it's really interesting. Like Megan said, it's going to be one hell of a show. I absolutely love Has Been Hotel. I haven't seen Hell of a Boss yet, but definitely love Has Been Hotel. That's definitely a very
Hell of a
specific.
Boss really leans heavily into character development, I think. I mean, it has a good plot, but the character development, and this is just me, just seems so much stronger in that
Mhm.
versus Has Been Hotel. And the
You, oh,
songs are just as
you
good.
feel like the characters are stronger in Helava?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, if I really compare the two shows side by side,
Mm-hmm.
they're made, obviously by the same person, but not, I don't want to say that Has Been Hotel feels flat because
Mm-hmm.
it really doesn't. Not even if you just look at simply the characters alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is the best shape. But if you just look at the characters, it feels like the characters in Hell of a Boss are
Mhm.
completely finished. They've got backstories, they've got full form personalities, they feel real.
Mhm.
And then Has Been Hotel, it's like they're not finished.
Mm.
Or that they're not showing their full selves. I mean,
Mhm.
part of that simply could be, there's only one season, the next one's not coming out for another month,
Mm.
but
And Hell of a Boss is what, through 3 seasons now, right?
and yeah, it
I,
just feels
I
like they
I
put
think
more
what's
work into
interesting
the
with Has Been
characters.
is I think when we look at the story and the journey of Has Been Hotel, and we look at it that really the pilot episode of Has Been was really the poster child for what's that fizzy pop I forgot Madonna, forgetting what her brand name is,
I think it's
but
busy pop.
yes, Fizzy Pop. So, Has Been Hotel was really the poster child with the pilot episode that came out many, many years ago. And I think there was probably a lot of learnings because Has Been is what they took to get produced through Cartoon Network originally. And then was that season still done through Cartoon Network, or I think it's through I know it's on Amazon, but I forgot if it's affiliated with Cartoon Network.
I cannot remember off the
That
top of
I
my
just don't
head.
remember. But they've been through a long journey with that show, and I feel like they learned a lot from that show in the process. Because Hell of a Boss didn't start coming out till many years later after production had been underway. And it's
Right.
interesting that we have multiple seasons of Helava, but only the one season of Has Been, yet Has Been was what led the way. And then when we think about the cast, none of the original cast was able to join the Netflix show.
Sup-
Or not the Amazon show. But the Hell of a
Supposedly,
Boss
they're
cast.
actually, and somebody correct Megan will probably correct me if I'm wrong with this.
Mhm.
I believe they're actually able to interact now. I think
Mhm.
there was something done where they can actually jump. I mean, they're part of the same universe, but now they can actually legitimately interact with each other. I think in like the future episodes or whatever.
Mhm.
I may be a little wrong on that, but that I remember a promo coming out that
Mhm.
actually had all the characters like interacting with each other in kind of like a little commercial.
Mhm.
Yeah, crossover.
Mhm. Yeah. So I think that's really exciting, and I mean, I think it goes to show anytime that we do crossovers are always really popular, regardless of what genre. And I think it's just expanding the universe.
hmm
So that'll be super cool. And then I asked myself, like, what draws us to shows like that? It's really the characters,
Oh yeah.
right? It's I'm curious, what is your guys' favorite character? What
If
about
I'm
you?
going
So
by hell of a boss, it's Fizzarolli.
is he the main one?
No, he is actually this clown imp that shows up. Oh, I think like midway through the first season, maybe. I haven't watched it in a while, but no, he's an imp, and he's a clown, but
Mm-hmm.
he's connected to the main character. They used to be best friends,
Mm-hmm.
and I always thought there was something hinted at between them.
Mm-hmm.
And he is also dating one of the deadly sins too. And
Mm-hmm.
so he actually does later on become a pretty important secondary character.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, I think that's really cool. Let's see. So what else? I mean, I think when you start thinking about like fandom, then it starts making me actually personally think about my own storytelling and my own writing. Like, okay, what characters am I working on? What how and what do I need to be doing to improving my storytelling?
Yeah.
I've really
Trying to
been
figure out how
full.
your characters interact, I think, is almost as fun as actually trying to figure out the plot.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is what's really been on my mind is character interactions because I have two new-ish characters on this part of the story, and a lot of what I'm really trying to work through is developing this. I'm trying to develop the new character who's kind of like the darker one and how they interact differently with all of my other with the other pre-existing characters because they're such like a different vibe. They're like kind of dark and brooding crossed with uh it's like dark and brooding crossed with like hero's quest type character.
Yeah, I think that's always an interesting challenge is when you've got one
Hmm.
character that they stand out from the others and not just a little bit,
Hmm.
but where anyone can tell they're of like a completely different, basically like social circle or something. However
Exactly.
you call that.
Exactly. And I've really tried to give that. I've done like a lot of, I'm doing a lot of foreshadowing. So like all of their magic, like all of the essence, the abilities with the character, like I really give very little information about the character's background. And I do it very intentionally so with this character. Like doing a lot of leading on, and it's just interesting. I'm very hoping much that it'll play and that people will be interested in this in these characters.
I'm sure they will. I've noticed over the years that it seems like the characters that you know everything about, don't get me wrong, they're going to be sometimes they're going to be popular, sometimes not.
Hmm.
But it seems like when you've got a character that actually seems somewhat important,
Hmm.
even like as like a secondary character,
Hmm.
the less we know, it seems
Hmm.
like the more likely people are going to latch onto them somehow.
Hmm.
And especially if they show up a lot. And it's like as long as we know just like the tiniest little bit about them beyond their name and their basic personality that we see, yeah, no, then people are like, wait a minute, I like this character. I connect with this character. And then they learn more and it just makes it better. And rather than, compared to we have this character that we know half their backstory like from the beginning.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what's interesting is I think I got an even interest in just seeing how people reacted to when I was working on the first half of Scarecrow. I think I got an equal amount of interest for people interested in Mr. Crow, and then an equal amount of people interested in the Pixie Pebble. And I'm like, I think that's good. I think it's good that different people, readers, viewers, respond to different characters.
Hmm.
And I mean, that's what I really wanted. I don't think my goal was for every reader to like every character. I want there to be very defining personality types so readers can pick their favorites.
Having everyone like the same character honestly is boring. It really is.
Yeah, and I mean, I know I know I tend to write very much more. I tend to write a lot more like very. I wouldn't say exaggerated, but just big personality types with a lot of my characters. And I think I contrast that where my hero feels at times grounded, more tries to be grounded. So that way it creates more of a POV of like, oh, I'm that character going through this world.
Right.
Mhm. Do you feel like with your writing soul that you try to create really like extreme characters, or how do you like approach character development?
Firstly, I look at what kind of characters have I been attracted to over the years. What makes them I look at what exactly makes a character stand out to me.
Hmm.
And like I'll use a Sonus for example because he actually was based off a red-haired Shanks.
Hmm.
But
And
at
so
least
for
his
anybody who doesn't know, what just like one line, like what is Sonus's character?
Sonus is a very powerful pirate
Okay.
who is constantly on the move.
Hmm.
But he was initially based off red-haired Shanks from One Piece.
Hmm.
And I actually really because I did that because one, I like the design, but then
Hmm.
also I really wanted that kind of character that had that sort of protective energy.
Hmm.
And then it's like, okay, so I like this piece of Shanks. I'm going to use it for my own character. And then I just went from there and I thought about, okay, so I have this protective character. I know his exact relationship to the main character Kasai.
Hmm.
So so exactly how are they going to interact? Because there's a lot of ways to be protective. But
Mm.
considering their specific relationship, I had to build off of that. And that is kind of what led me into he's protective, but he's also the type of I'm not going to come in and save you unless I absolutely have to. If you can show me that you can save yourself, well, yeah, I'm definitely going to let you. But if it's clear you're in over your head, I will not hesitate. And I did that with a lot of my characters is I looked at what are they based off a character I already know or a person that I know, and then how are they interacting with the story? How are they interacting with the other characters? And just kind of built from there. And I tried to make them relatable. I tried not to make the unicorn character, the one that's or I the one that's like so or not, I guess not unicorn. There's actually a specific term for that. It's a character that is so utterly perfect
Hmm.
that nobody likes them. They're everything that a person wants,
Hmm.
but they either have absolutely no flaws
Hmm.
or they're nothing but flaws.
Kind of interesting. I mean, I wonder if there's a character type where perfection is the flaw.
Yeah, that's actually still technically a flaw. I'm talking about a character that's like that's the perfection isn't is just simply them. It doesn't detract from them. It doesn't affect them in a negative way, and that's what the flaws tend to do. At least from what I've seen, is they make the character react differently in a situation than you would expect.
Hmm.
So, like a character that can't swim.
Hmm.
Okay, well, that sometimes that can be a flaw, sometimes not. It depends on exactly why. Do they not swim because there's something like a devil fruit user from One Piece where they just their energy is completely sapped? Or can
Hmm.
they not swim simply because they never learned how?
Hmm.
One of those is considered a flaw based off I think it's called based off like the nature, and the other
Hmm.
one is flawed based off the person. One,
Yeah.
because they have an ability that is out of their that has an effect out of their control,
Hmm.
and the other is an effect that they can control, they just don't.
Hmm.
And that
Yeah,
that
that,
can
that
really
that
make a
makes sense.
difference.
And by the way, for anyone just hopping into the stream, we're just talking about characters and character development. What does character development mean to you? We would love to hear. Drop a comment. I know, by the way, Stephanie, I saw you hop into the chat. Crazy. You're like, I love characters' interactions, especially when they don't like each other.
Those
I
are
think those
fun to
are the
write.
best moments, right? When we have two characters who vehemently hate each other. And
Those are
you
so
know what? I do a lot of like playing around with the character with my characters where they just like annoyed of each other and I play into that. But I get to this part of the book where I have the characters as we approach the end of it, where I have these two characters who like start growing to dislike each other more and more. And it
mm.
becomes more it starts becoming more of an obstacle.
When they start to dislike each other over the course of the book, I have to admit that always makes for an interesting ending.
Hmm. Yes, yeah, exactly. And I do it very intentionally because it leads into for those two characters, it leads into the events, the climax events as they're involved. But yeah. And there's like so much like foreshadowing that I do with like why they don't like each other and all the things and things the reader does and doesn't know. It's like it's a whole shebang. It's a whole twist and twirl of fun times.
Oh, those are always so much fun.
Oh man, I
I know
know.
myself, I've got a couple of characters that I've done through a few stories where one of them cannot stand the other,
Hmm.
and the other is just more like, I adore you, or at the very least, I like you, and it's just it's one sided basically,
Hmm.
and I kind of like working with that personally a lot better than simply they hate each other. But when it's one person hates the other and the other person is just like, why do you hate me?
Hmm.
No, I think it makes for a little more interesting. I mean, interesting dynamic because
You like that more when it's only the dislike and the discontentment is only coming from one of the parties.
yeah, when it's one sided, I can at the very least I've been able to actually twist that better than when both sides hate each other when it's mutual. It because it's like, wait a minute, okay, so I know over here these two characters really don't like each other, but that's
Hmm.
mutual. But this
Hmm.
character, they do like this other character. The other character can't stand them.
Hmm.
How is that going to affect? How is that different than the two that can't stand each other? And how might the one that hates the other react when the other does something to try to basically suck up to the one that they like.
That's interesting. Yeah, and I mean, I think it's a matter of different character dynamics, right? And it's different. How are we giving these different characters obstacles and forcing them to grow as a result of these obstacles? By the way, I saw a Cap hop in. Welcome, welcome. He said, "Well, a character is built with certain traits. When you flip those around and Pokemon evolve those traits, that's character development." By the way, I love your reference.
Hmm.
I would say relationship development and character development be different.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. Um, are relationship and character development different? So if I think about relationship development between characters, I think I would argue that that's a form of character development. Relationship development could also be could also fall into plotting as well. I wouldn't say world building, but I would say generally character or plotting. But I would say I would feel like that relationship development is like a form of character development because it's really asking yourself of how am I developing the way this character feels about another character, and at the end of the day, it's how is that character going to grow as a result of this relationship or not grow.
Yeah, I can see how that can be a part of character, and I actually do want to say that it could, depending on the story, be
Mm-hmm.
also considered world building, but that would be something where your characters are like gods or something that actually affects the world. That would be, but I haven't
Yeah,
seen
I
that
mean,
very
I guess
often.
like the relationship. Because I'm thinking of that. I'm like, okay, so if it's not a relationship with another character, you're asking like, okay, what about the relationship with like a setting or a location? And I don't really know if that's would still fall under a relationship. I mean, that'd be the way they feel, the way they
Well, that's
feel
why I
and the way they
use
act.
it's pretty much when your characters are gods or something that
Mhm.
alters the environment, that alters the world. That's, I think, when it would be considered something that could be part of world building, but
Mhm.
that is a really specific area that not everyone
Does end up
touches.
almost falling more under like events, like world events, or
Yeah.
plotting, world building. I could see what you're saying. Hmm. Do you have many gods in your stories?
I only have one story where I actually touch upon gods, and that's
Hmm.
Gods Don't Bleed. I do
Hmm.
still have that on the back burner, just I wanted, but with the competitions that came up and
Hmm.
wanting to work on Raging Inferno and everything, that's kind of been put back. But that
Hmm.
is the only one where the characters themselves, at least one of them, can actually interact with the world itself and change it,
Hmm.
compared to just simply they can notice the world and they can interact with it, but that doesn't mean they're going that does but that doesn't change it on a well a world changing on a world changing event.
Hmm. That makes sense. That totally makes sense. Um. All right. Well, I'm actually feeling super motivated. So, what do you say we get some writing done?
Yep, definitely.
So, for everyone here, we're gonna hop into a writing sprint. So, you got us queued up for 40 minutes.
Yep, got us queued up for 40 minutes to start off.
Awesome. So we're going to start off with a 40-minute writing sprint. We're going to try to make some progress and see just what we can accomplish. Um, yeah. Make sure to stick around. We'll chat more about our writing and we'll see how we are feeling after the sprint. I know I'm ready to hop into Scarecrow onto this next chapter. So I'm all ready. Whether you are writing, editing, revising, brainstorming, author branding, or doing something in between, come join us because it's time to right now.
And there we go. All right. Well, I hope everybody got a good amount of writing done for that. I think I actually wrote more in one sitting now than I did like for the past 3 days.
Yeah, I wish actually I could. I wish I could do writing. I'm editing.
Hey, you're still getting stuff done though.
I know. I've been so behind on my some of my editing stuff, but I'm finally hard at work on the as I'm sure everybody in the community will be very happy to hear. Hard at work on soon publishing Fate Fantasy Anthology.
Ooh, sounds fun.
So that we'll have that. I'll have the we'll have the ebook. We'll have the ebook ready soon. I'll be announcing it on Monday. Hey, how did the writing treat everybody else? We would love to hear from you. Were you able to get any words, ideas, thoughts? Or maybe you just procrastinated the whole time. Don't worry, it happens to the best of us. Yeah, how'd that treat you? It sounds like Soul, you're pretty super productive. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was actually nice to finally sit down and get more than 100 words in like 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm. That is so cool. I mean, I definitely felt really productive. I just kind of like I'm kind of thrown off a little bit on the streaming front with like streaming from the phone because I'm not used to it. But that's throwing me off a little bit. But I still got some work done, so I'm in good consistency. I mean, I hit like a good break. I hit like a good like point yesterday with finishing the chapter um, that I had just been on, and I'm ready to get to the next chapter. But I have to pace myself with the with all this work. And it looks
Yeah,
like we got some good stuff in the community. Megan got 726 words. Excellent. Nice, nice, nice. And Stephanie got a chapter and a half written. Wonderful. Stephanie, you're always super consistent as well. That's awesome. You got about 1,000 words. Nice. Yeah, it sounds like so. It sounds like we're not the only ones that made some progress this time around. So,
it is awesome.
mm-hmm. It's always interesting whenever we do back-to-back writing sprints. I always ask myself when I first get into a sprint how I can like set my goal and set my intention, so that way I can try to like push myself into the writing vibe. Do you feel like it's easy for you to kind of get into a writing mode?
It depends.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it depends on, do I have other things I need to be doing around the house?
Mm-hmm.
What exactly am I working on? And just kind of, do I even have the energy? Most of the time, once I actually sit down and start writing, I'm actually pretty good at it.
mm-hmm.
It Yeah, and it's nothing like it was last month.
Mm.
But
Last
last
month
month I
pretty
think
rough
was
for you.
kind of an outlier.
Mm. I think we all have those. I think we all have those months where it's a little bit more challenging. I feel like where was I? Yeah, I mean, I feel like over the summer I struggled a little bit with writing consistency, but I feel pretty good now. Once we've hit the fall, I start feeling a little stronger and more consistently. And I mean, granted, I wrote some really incredible chapters. I'm really proud of the chapters I wrote. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Soul, when you read it, when you read the action sequence, I hope you'll appreciate it. I hope it will stand up to your standards of cool action scenes. I feel like
I'm
so
sure it
confident. I'm like,
will
if there's
do.
anybody who writes good action scenes in the community, it's Chat Soul here. And I was like, so when you read it, I'm like, I hope it like lives up to your expectation of best action sequence ever written in the history of mankind.
Yeah, no, no, I will admit, if anything is gonna win the prize for best action scene,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think many things are really gonna be topping the latest One Piece episode.
Well, I guess that's just until you start reading The Last Scarecrow.
Oh, I can't wait.
Expect to be the unexpected. But no, I'm being facetious. But I am really happy with how it turned out. I had a once I had really thought about it how I wanted. There's really two like major action chapters in that part of the story, but I think the first one is really like a full on action chapter, and I think it works out well. And I wanted it to feel I wanted it to tell a story and have like a flow, and I was just happy. When I think about cinema and I think about one of my favorite like action sequences like on screen, I always think of Game of Thrones. I think of the Battle of the Bastards. Was always one of my favorites. That was the one with Jon Snow versus Ramsay when he's trying to retake Winterfell.
I don't think I got that far.
Very, very, very good. But the way they did the cinematography and the storytelling of it was just so incredibly well done. And then there's definitely been like movies where like incredible action sequences in movies. But I think it's always interesting when you're able to follow a character through a battle and for it to feel like you're going on a journey with the character without it feeling like it's too much about the battle, but then not too much about the character. And I think trying to find that balance is what's always interesting.
That balance is also difficult to find too.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, anime does action literally all the time, right? That's very
Yeah.
very common with anime. So I think it's always interesting when you're able to have a good action scene sequence with anime. I think what makes it a little harder is usually like big battles with an anime is usually lasts over like quite a number of episodes, right? So you're really watching. So one battle is probably like 20 episodes for a story arc because the anime episodes are so short.
Yeah,
Um,
they there's only
mhm,
so much you can fit in a single episode, and like One Piece, for example, right now, and a little bit of a spoiler for anyone who's been trying to keep up on it. Luffy versus the Gorosei, the Five Elders. No, I think that's been going on for 4 episodes already, maybe. I'm not entirely caught up, I read the manga, so I already know like how it's going, and yeah, considering what just happened this past Sunday,
mhm,
no, we still got like at least 4 more episodes before
mhm.
they get their butts kicked.
Yeah, I have to say, Cap brought up a really good movie. I'm a big fan of the action, everything, everywhere, all at once. Did you ever see that movie?
Everything, everywhere, all
Everywhere,
at
all at once. It was like an indie movie that became pretty popular a couple of years ago. It's still
doesn't
pretty
sound
recent.
familiar.
It's time travel. So if you like time travel at all, it's like indie time travel, and it's just very, very cleverly done. Unfortunately, I think the first like act of the movie, like the first 20 to 30 minutes, is a little slow. I think they really could have fine tuned it a little bit to get into the heart of the story. But overall, it's a really interesting, well done story. Definitely highly recommend watching.
Oh, yep. Definitely gonna be checking that out. Looks like it's on Netflix. I love
Yeah,
time
yeah,
travel
I know
stuff.
it's readily available. Maybe that's something that I would do for a movie night. Or like movie night, you hear? I was thinking about bringing movie night back to the Discord community. What would
Well, the
everyone
only reason I
about
had
that?
that look is just more of what happened last time. I tried to stream something from watching Disney, and
Hmm.
it was a black screen, so I had to find the movie elsewhere.
Hmm.
So whatever we'd watch, and this isn't just me. This is like literally, I think this is gonna be like for anyone who hosts that.
Hmm.
I don't know if we'd actually be able to stream it straight from like do a share screen through a Netflix or Hulu.
Hmm.
I already know we can't do it on Disney, and I don't think we could do it
I
through
would.
Hulu.
If I was on my computer, I would test it out right now. I'll test it out at some point. Can you do a screen share on a streaming service? It's interesting. That because I remember you doing but whether it works depends on the streaming service and the
I can
device.
test it this Saturday. I mean, I do my Saturday streams at 6 every week. This Saturday, what I can do is I can
Does
actually just throw up a movie.
services like Discord or StreamYard allow you to share your screen for other services like Hulu or YouTube? However, services with strong digital rights management, which Disney makes sense, such as Netflix, often prevent screen sharing and recording.
I'm a little surprised Hulu. I'd be a little surprised just
Hulu's owned
right
by
now
Disney,
that
right?
Hulu
And
could
now they're
allow it,
even
just
more
because it's connected
Disneyfied.
so well to Disney right now.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, baby.
I feel like there's a way around. There has to be a way around it. We just have to mess around with
Oh yeah,
it.
no, I
But
found the movie we watched. through I think like Movie
Mhm.
Share or something like that, and it was fine. Just I couldn't go through. I just couldn't go through Disney at the time.
But I
So I
do
think
have to
it's
say, like, so and so off the point. Well, we'll figure out the
yeah.
logistics side of it, but movie wise, I think everyone who showed up, and we had a pretty good turnout. Oh,
Oh yeah.
that's oh, uh, getting the phone keeps throwing me off. But everybody who showed up, no, I can't. Maybe no. There goes my setup. But everybody who showed up for the movie, I know everyone had a really great experience. And I know we were thinking about. I know I really wanted to do another movie night. So, but I do think that if it was one that's not like season theme, like if we did one for Freaky Friday, I mean, I guess it makes sense to go spooky.
Oh
I feel
yeah.
like something like Nightmare Before Christmas would probably be a really good one. Maybe we'd probably let the community vote, but I feel like that'd be super fun. Um, but let me think. But I feel like of movies that would be good to learn like logistically like different writing styles and why things work and why things don't work. Anything anything everywhere all at once is actually a really good movie to review because it does a lot of different things very very interestingly.
I need to
So
check that out now.
that's definitely one of those ones. Like it does a lot. It's a little bit of a lengthier movie, and I think if you can get yourself through the first 20 minutes of the movie, you're kind of like it sets expectations and then it's thrown on its head. Because it's just a slow start, and I remember feeling like that, like oh I might not like this, um, and then like it goes Rick and Morty, and I think that's just the best way to describe
Well, that's
it.
definitely a twist.
Yeah, I think that's just the best way to describe it. Oh man, and I actually do have to say the way that they did their time travel, the way they did the time travel shots in that movie was actually very clever. The way they did like cinematically, it was a very clever way of doing time travel on such a low budget, but it felt natural.
Huh.
I was very happy about that. Actually, I thought that was cool. Um, I just saw Cap's comment. You're like broccoli helps you with your writing. So eating your veggies makes you a better writer, Cap.
Oh no, one of my kid likes to actually tell stories in because he likes his veggies. He actually
There you
has written
go.
a couple stories for me before. I've got him in notebooks.
Oh, that's awesome. Are they really into getting into writing?
Um, I'm not sure if he's going to, but one of his stories was something about a train that fell into the water, I think, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he wrote it when he was 8,
Mm-hmm.
and he actually drew the pictures for it. And I gotta admit, for that age, it was actually pretty good.
That's awesome. That's really exciting. That's really really exciting. You must feel really proud that they're like super creative.
I was very surprised when he wanted to do that. Because he's not much of a reader, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I definitely felt beyond proud that he wanted to do that.
Aw. I also think it's really cool, Megan. I know you mentioned that you began taking grammar refresher classes in the city library system to refresh your skills, and I think that's really powerful. I just want to throw that out there. Um, you don't have to have perfect grammar as a writer. Like you don't have to have perfect grammar. Like you don't. I don't think writers have to put a lot of pressure on them to learn a lot of high end grammar skills, techniques, tools. I think it helps the more things you pick up over time. I think it's one of those things like learn a new like grammar skill or a new writing skill, like learn one like once a week or learn just like some type of consistency for learning. So that way you don't put too much pressure on yourself
And just make
because
sure that you know the basics.
exactly right. So basics are important, right? Speech tags. Why do we use speech tags the way we do? How do? Nope, oh, that went away. Can't tell if you guys can still hear me when I'm switch screens like that. Um, but like speech tags, like why do we use emphasis? Why don't we use ellipses too much? Things like that, like very basic things. important because they need it. If you're getting feedback, stories need to be at least readable to a certain degree. But grammar and editing, like all that's going to happen on the back end once the story itself is readable.
Yeah, honestly, that's actually one thing I've noticed. I actually have noticed with a couple writers in the past is they're more concerned with the grammar and the way it's written rather than really just trying to focus on actually making the story first. I actually have seen a couple writers like that, and it was like, it's good that you got good grammar. It's good that you know these rules, but I'd kind of like to see your story first, and then you go back and clean it up.
Hmm. I agree. Hmm. Um. Okay. Well, on that note, let's hop in another writing sprint before we run out of time.
Want to do another 40 minutes or change it?
I let's see. I know it looks like we're at the 30-minute mark. I can do 30 minutes. So if you can, I'm making good progress. Or if you need to go shorter, we can adjust.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
Please, I just sit here on my computer most of the time, so it doesn't. I could literally go 20 minutes. I could go like 2 hours.
Oh, sorry. Let's just do another 40 minutes then. I'm totally cool with that because I'm making good progress what I'm editing right now. Awesome. So let's do it, guys. 30 minutes and 2 seconds. I was like, we can't go shorter than the first sprint. I was like, I feel like the second one has to be at least the same or longer. Awesome. So, guys, let's do it. Let's push ourselves. Let's make some progress. Another 40 minutes on the clock. I feel ready. Do you feel ready? Whether you are writing, editing, revising, or brainstorming, let's do it because it's time to write now.
Alright, so I hope that sprint treated everyone alright. Well, Kaufman did not get abducted. He just not with the internet issues. He was working with his phone, and well, it just did not like him tonight. So tech gremlins are to blame. So hoping everyone enjoyed tonight's stream, and Kaufman should be streaming tomorrow, as far as I know, and I will see everyone back on next Wednesday during our Wednesday Writers Group, and maybe during my Saturday night Write Chat as well at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard.
Stories are forever. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers.
It's time to write
now.
Sorry.
Right now, not right now, but right now. Read now, right now. Is that right?
Words are win.